All right, let it start now. All right, woo! I'm gonna fingers crossed, knock on every piece of wood that this live stream is okay because my internet tends to not be wonderful when starting these live streams. But hello, everybody. My name is Romania Black, and I am doing a summer live stream series about Mob Psycho 100. And rather short notice, I just did one a couple days ago for Death Note. And I'm planning on doing most of these live streams on Sundays in the afternoon, but this coming Sunday, I'm actually on vacation. So I thought I wanted to do one for Mob Psycho since we just finished the series. I know YouTube still has to watch the audio drama that I've got coming out next Sunday, but I wanted to go ahead and do a live stream today to just talk about the series, talk with you all about Mob Psycho, and just about this series and going over comments that were left over from the end of the last episode of the anime and just talk about the series as a whole because I love this series so much. And I'm really excited to talk with you all about it and just answer questions that you all have. I don't have that many questions from Patreon. So if YouTube has a lot of questions for the stream, I definitely want to answer them. And then we can talk a little bit about other stuff too. I want to do a character tier for Mob Psycho, talk about the OPs and EDs, the themes, fun stuff like that. And then if we have any time left over, we can talk about other things. So I hope you all are having a great day. I know it's really super early in the morning or super late at night for some of y'all, depending on the time zones. But this just happened to be the time that worked out for me this week to talk about Mob Psycho. And I do have to be done by noon Central Standard Time. So 2 hours is our max. We will go until we are done talking about the series and just go to from there. But yeah, I've seen some people are online watching. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope my dogs are fine. I'm using my FaceTime camera because it's easier for the live stream so you guys can see Whiteboard Coon over here eating dinner. Yeah, time zones are so weird, Shelby. Hello. Time zones are so fascinating because it's 10 a.m. where I'm at. So it's morning, but it's not quite a meal time for me yet. But then everybody else is on different time zones. So it's crazy. But yeah, so I want to talk about Mob Psycho and this series and answer any questions y'all had for me about the reactions about the series. And then if we have any time left over, we can talk about just whatever for a little bit on the live stream. But yeah, I did want to address some questions and comments that had came up with season 3 as far as the last episode 12. So forewarning, there is going to be spoilers, and I'm going to put in the chat right now spoilers for Mob Psycho 100 in this stream because we're just going to start right off the bat talking about season 3 because and talk about the seasons as a whole, but I do want to address some of the comments that people had left because I hadn't been able to answer them until today for episode 12 of season 3. So you guys on YouTube have not seen, if you're a YouTube only, if you're not a Patreon, you've not seen my reaction to the audio drama that's going to be coming out this Sunday. And so that's kind of the last Mob Psycho related thing that I'm going to look at. And then we're going to start a new series after that because we've ended Mob Psycho. We're going to start a new series gearing up for Bungo Stray Dogs season 5 that's going to be coming out in July that I'm hoping to have in on Sundays. I think my goal is that we're going to start this new series the week after next. And then when season 5 of Bungo Stray Dogs starts, then I'm going to be having it on Sundays as well because Mob Psycho replaced Bungo Stray Dogs. So it seems fitting that we're going to have it come back and replace Sundays for Mob Psycho. So that seems like a good idea. But yeah, just going over while you guys are tuning in on the chat, Truck from Patreon talked about the audio drama is actually from season 2, which was from back in 2017. So it is not season 3 related. So when I was reacting to the audio drama that's going to come out on YouTube next week, it's on Patreon now. I was like, oh, we don't mention any of these characters. Like we don't mention Takanaka or any of them. And it's because the audio drama is from season 2. And I just didn't know that at the time. Aerith 1202, we talk about Dimple in season 3, and we'll talk a little bit about season 3 and how the season went as a whole. But Aerith 1202 noted in episode 12 that Mob trusts Dimple. It's his first full friend, which is such a great way to put it, that Dimple was Mob's first friend and that he trusts him more than anything. So when Dimple comes back at the end of season 3, It's so fun because Mob, the inner Mob, has been convincing him that they're not going to listen to Reagan because they think Reagan's a liar and he's not trustworthy. But Dimple's always been trustworthy because Dimple's always been honest with Mob, and Dimple's never lied to Mob. So Mob trusts him wholeheartedly. So when he tells him to listen to Reagan in season 3, he actually does. And so I liked that comment by Aerith 1202 about how Dimple was so impactful for Mob. And oh no, Shelby, I'm so sorry. I said spoilers. I did say there's spoilers. So yeah, if you've not seen, yeah, there are spoilers for the whole series. It is the end of series live stream. So if you are tuning in, we're talking about the series as a whole. So yes. If you've not seen the entirety of Mob Psycho, there's going to be spoilers in this stream because it's the end of the series. I'm talking about it as a whole. So yep, sorry about that. That's why I put that thing up in the chat that there are spoilers for Mob Psycho. So yes, but yeah, I do like the idea that Hey, Undecided Toy Store. Tuesday is going well. Yes, I'm getting my hair cut today. So this is the last time you will see tresses like these in a while. I am getting my hair cut in preparation for Jujutsu Kaisen coming out later this summer. I got to get my Nobara hair back. My hair's grown out. I need to get Nobara hair back. So that's why we're only doing the stream for like an hour or two because I got to go and get this done, get this taken care of. I feel like I have quarantine hair. It's driving me insane. Hello, Dan. Thank you so much, Toy Store. I appreciate that. I started getting my hair cut like Nobara when I was doing Jujutsu Kaisen. And then I was like, I need to just, hey, Kaylin V, hello. And then I was like, I'm just going to chop it off for Jujutsu Kaisen this summer. It needs to happen. But yeah, so we're talking about season 3 of Mob Psycho, and I'm going over the comments that were left over from episode 12 that I had not gotten to in any of the other videos. But what I really like is that I like the idea that someone in the very last scene where Mob and them have the birthday party for Reagan, someone did stop the cake, and then Reagan's face just kind of imploded into it. Somebody noted that, and I'm glad that you all pointed it out. Zillasafe talked about the manga and asked if I would read the manga chapter for the final volume. Here's my thing. I do want to read Mob Psycho's manga. I do want to read it, but I need to read the whole thing. I would feel really weird finishing the anime and then going to the last chapter of the manga without seeing all of the rest of the manga. I probably won't do a reaction to the manga because there's so many volumes and we've seen the anime. So I will probably in my own time read the manga and then come back and maybe do a video summarizing everything in the manga, the differences between it and the anime, comments about it. And then I may leave that last chapter, like Zillasafe said, leave that last chapter of the manga and then go over it and react to it live with you all so you guys can see that. So that's kind of my plan, but the timeline of that, I have so much going on this channel right now. There's like 10 shows a week plus all the extras that I'm trying to do, and then Pride Month is this coming month, so I have so much to talk about. So I don't know what exactly the time frame of me getting to the manga will be. So that's interesting. And Kaylin V, I'm going to go to your comments in the chat right here. The barber tied into ponytail, snipped it off. See, my hair has never gotten that long. My hair is always, this is about as long as it gets, and then it turns into like, I look like Riff Raff off of Rocky Horror Picture Show. It looks really bad. So usually this is as long as it gets, and then I'm like, it's got to go. So it's going to go today. But yeah, that's when I'm off of this chat. I'm going to go get that done. But yeah, interesting. So the OPs have all kinds of manga spoilers. Interesting. Now, see, I always find that fascinating because a lot of times people will tell me when I'm reacting, my whole thing is I don't mind an OP that has spoilers that are out of context. And what I mean by that is if you don't know what the spoiler is, you can watch the OP and be like, it's just an image. And then after the fact, once you actually get to the spoiler, you're like, oh, it was there the whole time. Like I'm all about those types of OPs. The ones that I don't like are the old Bleach OPs where if you remember the Bleach from the early 2000s, some of those OPs just summarize the plot. And then you were watching it going, oh, so that's going to happen. Oh, all right. So, and you kind of just knew what was going to happen that season with the OP. Not to say they were bad. I love Bleach. I love the OPs for it. But those kind of moments you were like, well, I know what to expect. And luckily, I had read the manga for Bleach at the time, so it wasn't a spoiler to me, but I could only imagine anime onlys going, oh, that's what we've got to expect. So that's interesting, Kaylin. That's good to know. That will be something that as I go through the manga, I will probably make notes of and go back to the OPs and EDs and be like, oh yeah, so this was in the manga and it was spoiling it the whole time. That's really cool. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Undecided Toy Store. I noticed you've read the mangas and watched the animes for other series like Neon Genesis and Attack on Titan. Do you generally have a preference for either one? That's a really good question. Not to get into spoilers of Attack on Titan and Neon Genesis, because that's their own genre themselves. But I would say that although I did like the manga for Neon Genesis, I did like the anime more. I did like the original. With Attack on Titan, I'm kind of in a very torn state because I'm currently going through the Attack on Titan manga. I'm only to volume 10 right now. And I'm reacting to the manga and discussing it in preparation for the final seasons of the anime. And so I do appreciate, I feel like with Attack on Titan, the manga and anime are apples and oranges. You can find good things that you like from both and you can prefer one or the other, and neither of you are wrong. For me, there are moments of the anime I do like more, and there's moments of the manga I do like more. So I'm kind of torn between which one's better at this point. And yes, Kaylin, Mob Psycho's OPs are so insane. Their OPs are amazing. I love Mob Psycho's OPs because there's just so much imagery and symbolism and energy. And the songs, the Mob Choir is so good that was one of the things I always looked forward to, was like, oh my God, every time I'm going to start an episode, I'm just going to jam out to the OP and savor it every episode. Yes, I'm going to talk about, I was asked on Patreon to rank the OPs and EDs. And so I am going to do that, Kaylin, here in just a second. Dan Simmons, the worst spoilers were the DBZ episode titles. I'm honestly, it's such a thing. If I get on Crunchyroll, I try not to look at the episode titles. It's very difficult, but I try not to, just so that I can be surprised when I actually get to the episode titles when they happen. The best things have been like with Monster that I'm reacting to right now. Anthony on Patreon sent me all of the files for Monster. And with that series, I've been able to just click on the file, open up the episode and watch it and not know the episode at all, because all the file names say are Monster 3, Monster 4. So that's probably my favorite type of reactions to do when I'm completely blind. I have no clue what I'm stepping into. But with Mob, there's a couple times I did notice the titles and I was like, oh, okay. But some of them you don't really know the context of until you get to them. Like the confession title for the final episode, you think the confession title is going to be like Tsubomi and Mob, but it turns out being Reagan and Mob. Reagan's the one that confesses. And you're like, so that the titles can somewhat be misleading. So it's always interesting. Kaylin B, the moment anyone mentions Mob Psycho OP1, I just hear in my head, Mob, what do you want? Mob. Oh, now it's going to be my head. Yeah, no, Kaylin, you've officially got that stuck in my head. It's over now. I'm going to be just singing, nah, nah, nah. I'm just going to be singing the chorus the entire day. So, and I'm not going to do that for y'all because I want to spare your eardrums. Yeah, it's stuck. It's gone. It's over. It's so good. Let's go ahead and talk about that since we're on there, because AZ was talking about, and you all probably know this, AZ had mentioned in the comments that in season 2's ED, there is a moment that is foreshadowing season 3. And I was trying to figure out what it was, and I couldn't quite figure it out. They said it was around the 45-second mark. And the only thing I could think of is in season 2's ED, there is a moment with the kaleidoscope. And I didn't know if an image from the kaleidoscope was referencing something in season 3. And then the image right after that is Mob holding a sunflower. And I didn't know if that was referencing Mob with the bouquet when he's trying to go after Tsubomi. I wasn't sure, right? I wasn't sure. So if anybody in the chat knows what that reference from season 2's OP that was foreshadowing something in season 3 is, I would appreciate that, because I was trying to wrap my brain around it today. And I was like, I don't quite know what it is. I think it's the sunflower, but I'm not entirely sure. But while you all are helping me out with that, I was asked to rank the OPs and EDs, and there's 3 OPs and 3 EDs. So the question is, which ones do I like best and which ones do I not? And so I put all 6 together. That's kind of hard to do because the EDs are very different than the OPs. The OPs are such high energy and saturation of imagery and symbolism, and then the EDs are usually much more downplayed and subtle. That it's hard to rank them all, but I would say of all the OPs and of all the EDs, my least favorite is probably the second ED. It's super cute. There's nothing wrong with any of the OPs and EDs. So if you all disagree with me, I don't blame you. But the second season ED is just, it's cutesy, but I really like the bookend of season 1 and season 3's EDs of Reagan and Mob. I like that a lot better. And season 2 is just kind of like all the characters in the cute little like Paper Mario format that's really adorable. It's fine, but it's not my favorite, I think, of all of them. And then I would say, I know people are going to get mad, but the second OP is probably season 2. I love season 2 so much, but its OP and EDs are probably at the bottom of my list. I like season 2's OP. I do. I really do. It's just I love 1 and 3's OP and EDs more. So I would say that season 2's OP and EDs are my least favorite, even though they're really, really good. They're my least favorite. And then I would say the EDs for season 1 and season 3 are probably my numbers 3 and 4. I'd say the ED for season 3, even though it's Mob, even though it's rounding everything out and it's really cute, it'd be my number 4. And then season 1's ED is my number 3. I really love the watercolor, the water paint on glass that they do for the EDs for season 1 and season 3. I love that effect. It's gorgeous. And I feel like Reagan's just outs Mob's a little bit because it was done first. I think if I had seen Mob's ED for season 3 first, I would have liked it more than Reagan's. Although that image of Reagan waking up with a cigarette out the window and then like it instantly goes to color the moment he sees Mob, it's so good. It's so darn good. I love it so much. But yeah, Kaylin, you were right. There is no bad choice. It just makes it harder. And then, yeah, in Kaylin V, as they were noting in the chat, the season 3 OP is my second favorite. That moment of Reagan like turning and doing the da, 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 and then the music all goes with it. I love it. But OP1 is the best. The OG, the first OP, it is just so iconic and perfect for Mob. Season 3's gets really close, but the first OP, yeah, you should see that coming. Like, who's gonna deny the first Mob choir? It's so good. That opening beat, like the dun 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 dun, and then it just goes into it. It's just, you can't beat that. Yeah, you cannot beat the first, like you said. Yeah, it's just so freaking good. So freaking good. I want to talk about another comment that came out of season 3, episode 12 was H Banana 7 talked about the confession of Reagan's in the end of the episode, which I love it. I love that season 2, we got Mob suspecting that Reagan is just a normal person. And then by the end of season 3, when Reagan finally confesses, I love the message that adults do not have it together more than kids. We do not know what we're talking about half the time. I think the only thing that makes adults slightly more questionable and slightly more knowledgeable than youth is experience. I really think that that's it. I think the idea that Reagan's like, look, I've been on this earth longer than you, so I've seen more things. I have more experience, but we don't know all of the answers. If you're coming to an adult expecting us to have all the answers, we most certainly do not. And I love that message. I love that it just, because, I teach for a living and I'm a speech coach. And so I have students and I have people on our team that oftentimes ask me questions. And a lot of the times I can give them an answer, but sometimes I'm like, I am as in the dark as you are. So we're just going to figure it out together. And I love that by the end of the episode, Reagan's like, yeah, we're going to figure it out. It's just going to take some time, but we can do it together. Let me go to the question on here. Dan Simmons asks, how important are the visuals and OPs for you? Sometimes I ignore the visuals and listen to the song, but with Mob, it's hard to ignore. Ooh, that's a really good question. I honestly look at the OP and EDs for visuals. I'm not a musically trained person. My school was very poor, and we didn't have a music program. Once I was in junior high, our music program got cut, and so I have not had music since I was in junior high. So I was not musically trained. I can appreciate music a lot and the craft and the art of it, but I'm not knowledgeable. I don't have an ear for music. My best friend is a beautiful singer and has a trained ear for music and appreciates it so much more than I ever could. I'm definitely a visual person. Like with storytelling, with that's why I love manga so much, is because it's a visual medium. And so imagery and symbolism, visual rhetoric is my jam. And so I can appreciate that with an OP way more than I can the music of it. Not to say the music isn't important, because it adds so much to it in terms from that. But not to say that the OP and the ED music is not important. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. I do agree that the visuals in season 2 are really good in the OP, Kaylin. I can totally agree with that. And then Neil Cherian, he sent me a link in the last episode's comment. So if you go to Neil's comment in episode 12 of season 3, he sent a link of Reagan's English voice actor doing like the last climactic scene in that episode. And it's so good. He like dressed as a cosplay of Reagan, which was really fun. And so I loved that. I love when voice actors get into character for the characters they're portraying to enact the scene. That was really, really cool. I liked it, which I love dressing up as Reagan. We did the Halloween episode. It came out right on Halloween for Mob Psycho. I loved dressing up as Reagan. It was so fun. And anytime you get to cosplay as a Mob Psycho character, Mob Psycho would be so easy to cosplay. It really would, you know? It would be very easy to cosplay for Mob Psycho, especially Reagan or Mob. That'd be really cool. Kaylin V, there's a thing called musical interpretation. If it's done right, it tells you everything you need to know about a character by hearing their music. I can so see that. Yeah. I feel like that's so interesting you say that, because you think of the themes of characters and you think of Reagan's theme, and it sounds kind of sleazy, but it has like this kind of like Zen aura to it. So that fits Reagan to a T, where there's something maybe spiritual and good underneath, but it has like a sleazy overtone. The comment you talked about before, the anime ending with Reagan turning 30 made me feel it was coming of age in a way for him too. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that what's so cool about this series is that it's not just Mob's story. I feel like Mob and Reagan both grow up, so to speak, at the same time, which is so neat. Yeah, it's just Reagan growing up. He's hitting his 30s, which I'm in my 30s now. So I totally could relate to Reagan the entire series. I was like, yes, I relate to a lot of things you're talking about, and finding yourself even as an adult. I feel like your teens, where Mob is getting into, your teens are like when you're first starting to understand reality and the world and who you are. And then your 20s are really cementing who you are. And your 30s when you start to kind of figure it out. So I kind of love that. Something as simple as chimes or piano or violin can give you a completely different interpretation of the character. Yes, absolutely. I love that depending on the instrument, you can get a different view of who that character is. That's so true. Hello, Lyndon. Thank you for joining the chat. We're talking about Mob Psycho. We've been talking about the OPs and EDs and the music and those versions there. I finished my comments from season 3, so we are ready to talk about the series in full. I've got out to the side here. You all can't see it, but I'll take a screenshot of it later. I've got a character tier. We're going to rank the characters, and I'm going to need your help because if I'm honest, I can't remember all of the characters' names. So it's going to be basically Romania Black guessing characters and who the hell they are. We're going to play charades where I'm going to tell you what a character looks like, and you're going to help me figure out who the hell they are. Because I'm like, who are you again? What's happening? And then I'll take a screenshot and put it in the community post afterwards. And I also want to talk about my favorite episodes of the series. I guess we can go ahead and talk about favorite episodes because the character tier is going to take a little bit. Seasons 1 through 3 are, I don't know about you all, but I did not expect this series. I had heard really good things about Mob Psycho, and I heard it was a series that I needed to see, that it was great coming off of Bungo Stray Dogs to go into it because it's zany and wacky in the same way that Bungo Stray Dogs is, but it has so much heart and it has so much soul to it. And it's honestly been like a life affirming series to watch that you get so inspired by it. It's one of those series, like if you're going to go to therapy, go put on Mob Psycho 100. And it's like a therapy session in an episode without being preachy, without seeming like it's too overdone or too forceful. It's just so perfect in this coming of age story for both adults and for youth to really understand. And you kind of relate to both Reagan and Mob as the story goes on, right? But, and the story, I would argue, someone in the comments, I think it was Neil Cherian that talked about it in the last episode, they were saying, and I wanted to get the chat's kind of vibe about the series as a whole. I feel like season 1 is solid from end to end. Season 1 is solid. It's just beautiful storytelling. It encapsulates like an entire narrative in those 12 episodes. It's pretty flawless. Season 1 is pretty flawless. Season 2, I would feel like even though season 1 is flawless, I like season 2 more because we expand on the characters. We get more with the story. And it feels like it's not as perfect and flawless as season 1 is in terms of its narrative, but it expands more and it goes to darker places. It goes to places with the characters that we don't expect. It gives us more development with Mob and Reagan. And I like season 2, I think, the best. I think season 2 for me is my favorite. It's not as flawless as season 1, and it doesn't maybe have the emotional impact of season 3, but I think season 2 is just, it is perfection in its own. It's imperfectly perfect. And I love it. And the final confrontation between Suzuki and Mob in season 2 is so well done. The introduction of Sarazawa, the Mogami, that whole storyline, like the storylines in season 2, I think are so much darker and more emotional that I love season 2 so much. And then season 3, what Cherian was saying, Neil Cherian was saying that for them, season 3 felt like an extended epilogue. They thought that it was too long. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that the episodes 7 and 8 kind of come out of nowhere in season 3. And again, we're talking spoilers at this point, but I feel like 7 and 8 kind of maybe are just like a weird placement right in the middle of the season. But I do love season 3. The last arc is so damn good. And I feel like episode 12 of season 3 is the perfect ending. I can't imagine a better ending for the series. It's just so damn good that it kind of makes up for a lot of faults that some people may have with season 3. But yeah, I'd say season 2 is my favorite, but then the final arc of season 3 is also like right up there in my favorites as well, right? So Dan, I didn't expect to love Mob either. I knew it was from OPM mangaka One Punch Man, but I didn't like that show that much. Now Mob is in my top 10. I wish it aired when I was a kid. Yeah, I feel like if I had been in high school watching Mob Psycho, I would have just ate this up. It would have been so life affirming and such a great manga and anime to like watch at the time. I would have instantly dived into the manga. There's no question. But I feel like it's a great show because you could have watched it as a kid and you can watch it now as an adult and still get the same resonance out of it. But yeah, I didn't expect to fall in love with it like I did either. Now, One Punch Man, I have not watched that series in full. My brother loves One Punch Man. It's like one of his favorites. He absolutely loves Saitama to pieces. And I've watched some episodes with him. And it's funny. I get what one is doing. I get what he's doing in terms of satire. He kind of does that with Mob Psycho, but to a more realistic and less extreme. But I do like One Punch Man because from what I've seen, because of how satirical it is and funny it is. But yeah, I do agree that Mob is a lot more, I think, digestible and has more depth to it maybe than One Punch Man. I'm going to like get all the One Punch Man stands out here being like, you don't know what you're talking about. Season 2, Kaylin B. Season 2 tackles Mob's naivete and innocence, which is really good as a lead up for season 3. Yes, I think that season 2 has to happen for season 3 to have the payoff that it does. You have to see Mob struggle in season 2 to get his struggles in season 3. It's very dependent upon itself. So that's a really good point. Lyndon, I feel like Mob does the hero who never loses thing so much better than One Punch Man. It's not just funny, but it has things to say. Yeah, again, I don't know One Punch Man as well, but I love the idea of Mob as this like OP character who technically isn't stopped the whole series. Like you technically can't stop Mob. It takes him coming to realization about himself to stop, right? And I kind of love that. Although Ritsu getting to Mob at the end of season 2 was so good. I was so happy because my fear the entire series was that Mob was going to do something that he was going to regret. What I loved about this series was that it never went so dark that the characters couldn't come back from it, right? It never got to the point where Mob did something that he was going to regret for the rest of his life. Everything was something, it went to dark places, but it never got so dark that you couldn't find the light at the end of the tunnel. It always had a way to come back and have a happy ending. And that's my jam. Like, I can do angst as long as it has a happy ending. As long as it doesn't end in tragedy, I'm like, I'm fine with it. But that's kind of what I loved about Mob Psycho. It felt earned at the end when you had the happy ending, which was really good. I liked that a lot. So if you guys have things to say about Mob, I did not have a lot of Patreon questions this time around for this series. So if you all have questions to ask, I am very, very eager to answer them. But I did pick my top 5 episodes out of each season. I did like that. We'll talk about that right after Kaylin V's comment. The best thing about Mob is that it never really dawned really fully until season 3 that despite being OP, Mob's a kid. You had that in the back of your mind, but it's muffled. And season 3 smacks you across the face with it. Yes. Yeah, because Mob, I always kind of thought too that Mob was a kid, but I never really, it didn't impact me about how dark it was going to get with him being a kid, you know? It really went dark after the parent death fake out. Yes, that's what season 2, after that parent death fake out, you know, right before the final arc, at that point you were like, if his family actually died, what? Like, there's a part of me that was like, no, there's no way. Ritsu can't be dead. He's in too much official art to be dead. They wouldn't keep drawing him if he was fully dead, right? Right? So I kind of thought that there's no way his parents were dead, but it was always in the back of my mind, like, oh my God, what if this show went there? And then thankfully it did not. But yeah, the idea that Mob is a child, he's so mature for his age that you kind of forget about it. And then, like Kaylin said, season 3 just kind of like, oh no, Electric Tyrone. I thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming and stopping by. Definitely recommend Mob Psycho. You should totally watch it. It's so good. Cannot recommend it enough. But yes, we are talking spoilers here. Speaking of spoilers, I did write down, I didn't want to rank all the episodes because that would take forever, but I did want to talk about my top 5 from each season. And they're not in any specific order because how can you order Mob Psycho episodes? They're so good all the way through. So season 1, I would say that my top 5 episodes, the first episode's classic. I love the first episode of Mob Psycho. It sets everything up pretty perfectly and lets you know the dynamic between Mob and Reagan right off the bat. It was great. I also loved episode 5 of season. I noticed as I was making this list of my favorite episodes, I could remember distinctly the episodes from season 1 because the narrative is just that tight and that good. And it's very distinct from episode to episode. I had to look up some of the plots of the episodes for season 2 and season 3 because it starts to become this big thread and this big web of everything that's interconnected going on. But episode 5 of season 1 is the one with Teru. And when Teru and Mob have their battle together and Mob shows Teru the light, shows him the way. Hello, Truck. No, you are not too late. That's all right. So yes, the legendary Truck. Yes, let's all give Truck a shout out and a clap for joining in the chat because Truck has been a godsend for not only this series, but also Krokus Basketball in translating audio dramas for me and posting them up, like doing the thing, the one and only. So I'm going to type up in the chat here, season 1 favorite episodes for me. I'm going to type that up in here and say, I'm going to say my favorite episodes were number 1, number 5, and we'll talk about these after I post them, number 8, and 11 and 12. All right, so my top 5 episodes for season 1 are up there in the chat. Like I said, the first episode, classic, beautiful pilot. It got me on board with the series, sets everything up so well. Episode 5, where Mob fights Teru, classic episode. I love, we could see Mob with his sadness 100%, seeing Teru lose his hair, get naked for the first time, just hit the battle between the two of them, and then the thematic message of Mob telling Teru that just because you have psychic powers, you're not special. And that's like a theme that carries through the entire thing, right? And then episode 8, I had to pick episode 8 in my top 5 because it's white tea poison. It's white tea poison and the introduction of Mob getting serious and battling to save Ritsu from being attacked. So that episode had to be in there. And then episode 11 and 12 at the end of season 1, just the idea of Reagan stepping up, that fake out where we think that Reagan is with Claw and is the Claw leader, the fake out where we think Reagan is the mastermind behind it all. I was convinced, I was fooled. I was like, is he really? By one in his own Reagan con man way. Like it just, I feel like I also watched this series at the perfect time because at that moment that I was watching season 1 going into season 2, at that moment, the Tumblr man versus Reagan, all of the Reagan sweep was going on Tumblr and on Twitter, and it was just so perfect. And then you realize the T stands for t-shirt. Yes, truck, the white tea poison. I love the Reagan fake it till you make it with a claw. Joseph, that is so true. I love that moment. I was like, if anybody can pull it off, it's Reagan. And that was Reagan's superpower throughout this whole series, was that he was so charismatic. He convinced every psychic that he had some kind of power because they were all like, who in their right mind would even try to mess with us being a normal person? And Reagan's just like, just going to go do it. What do you think of Sarah Ray? Well, P. You mean Sarah Zhao and Ray and Reagan? OTP, obviously. There was not a lot of shipping in Mob Psycho, but I will argue, because I like to find shipping in anything, because that's kind of my thing, is the Serizawa, the whole time, I was never a Reagan Mob shipper because that's weird to me, because Mob is a literal middle schooler. No. Now, maybe 20 years down the road, I'm not gonna doubt it. 20 years down the road, maybe you guys do you, but middle school Mob and adult Reagan, absolutely not. I can't go there. Truck, I will always ship Dimple and Godhood. Yes, Dimple deserves the world. He deserves it, right? But yeah, I saw some people commenting that they were like doing Mob and Reagan as a ship. I'm like, oh God, no, absolutely not. Now, as far as ships in the series go, I definitely ship Sari Ray, because the moment Serizawa showed up in season 2, the moment he saved Reagan, I was like, it's over. I have to ship them. It was like a dream come true. That episode is one of my favorites from season 2 because it's just so perfect. I was like, my shipper heart was exploding, right? And alongside with Truck, I think the other ship that I really love is Ritsu and Sho. Sho is so obvious about it the entire series too. Like every time Sho shows up, he's just like, where's Ritsu? Is Ritsu okay? How's Ritsu doing? Oh, look, it's Ritsu's brother. Like Ritsu is the only thing on Sho's brain the entire time, right? And then I will say, if I have to ship Mob with anybody, it's Teru. I'm a Teru Mob shipper for so many reasons. Teru just after episode 5 in season 1, I was like, oh, okay, I get Teru Mob. Y'all got me. I'm on board. I'm with it. And then like Caitlin says, Teru Mob season 3 food. Yes, absolutely. So much good moments between the two of them. I could not agree more. So yeah, I think with shipping, it'd be Ritsu Sho, Teru Mob, Serizawa and Reagan. Those are the 3 main ones. I'm sure there's other ships that are in there, but those are the 3 main ones. I mean, those are the classic ships. I feel like they're great. What about Tsubomi? Oh, are we going to talk about her now? Are we going to talk about her now? I was hoping we were going to avoid talking about her for a while. But I guess we're going to talk about Tsubomi. Dimple and the security guard that he possessed. Oh my God. Truck sent so much fan art of Dimple and that security guard in the Discord at the time that how could you not ship them, right? I was afraid to ask the question. Here's the thing. Let's talk about Subomi while we're here. I By the end of the series, I didn't know how I was going to feel about Subomi. I ended up being fine with her character because she turned Mob down. And that seems like such a petty thing to say because you're like, oh, you're just wanting to ship Terror Mob, so you like her because she's not in a ship with Mob. And that's not the case. My thing with her is that I felt like to keep consistent with her character, she needed to turn Mob down because she doesn't know Mob that much, right? She doesn't know Mob that well at this point in the story. I appreciate that she stayed there. She stayed there to wait on Mob. Gonna question her sanity through a tornado. The whole time during the reaction, I was like, you should probably get to a shelter in real life. If you were a real life character, I'd be like, girl, get to a tornado shelter. You can talk to him later. But I appreciate in terms of the anime and thematically what they were doing, she stayed there to support him and to be able to talk with him. I do appreciate that about her character. And I appreciate that she turned him down because to keep consistent with how she's been developing this whole season, she doesn't know him that well. They've been childhood friends, but just like Mob doesn't know anything about Subomi, she really doesn't know anything about him. She just knows he has psychic powers. He just knows that she's in the same class, but she's just a normal girl who, like Kaylin's saying, she has her own problems and insecurities, and she doesn't owe Mob anything. But I'm glad that she didn't just end up with him as a reward for everything happening. I'm glad that she says, no, I don't owe you anything, Mob. I don't owe you to be the girlfriend at the end of the story. That's not how real life works. And it goes in line with that theme of growing up and facing loss that, yeah, you're going to be rejected in your life. That's going to happen. But what I love about it is that in that final episode, and again, spoilers for y'all, spoilers for the final episode of season 3, what I love about it is that you see Mob talking with her on the phone. You see her talking with her on the phone at the end, and him kind of getting to know her a little bit more at the very end. And it leaves it open-ended for the audience. Maybe they'll just stay friends. Maybe they will never be a couple. Maybe they'll be a couple in high school. Maybe they'll be a couple when they get to adulthood. We don't know as the audience. It's left open to us to interpret. But the important thing is that Mob is actually getting to know her and she's getting to know him. And if that relationship develops, it's going to be natural. And I love that about it. So that was my thing about Subomi. H Banana, never caught you doing a live stream before. Yes, I'm sorry. This is one of the only Tuesday live streams I'm going to be doing. Most of them are going to be on Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time this summer. So if you get a chance in June, come check it out. I'm going to be doing live streams for most of June on Sundays at 1 p.m. Yeah. But yes, Dan, I agree. It's perfect for kids that if your relationship doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. You can move on. It'll be fine. And like Reagan tells him, he's like, we'll get through it together. It's going to be okay. You've got friends and a support system to help you through that loss. But I love it. I love that at the end, I was much happier with Subomi's character because I thought, all right, she's a normal human being. So is Mob. If they get together down the road, they'll know each other more and it'll be great. And if they don't, then it is what it is. I feel like it was just a perfect ending for that so that you could just, as an audience, leave it open to your own interpretation. Because like Kaylin notes in the chat, they say, if Mob ends up with a girl, I prefer it to be Emmy because they got to know each other from the start instead of physical attraction being a factor. That's such a good point. Yeah, I really liked Emmy as a character. And I kind of thought that too in the moment during the episode. I was like, she got to know Mob, for his personality and for other things rather than just physical attraction. That was my fear with Subomi, because when Dimple asks, why does Mob like her? And when Masato asks, and all Mob can say is, oh, she's really pretty. And there's nothing else. So I was afraid that Mob was going to get with her in the end and there wouldn't be that depth of their relationship. It would just be oh, you're cute. I don't know anything about you, but I'm physically attracted to you. And we've seen that happen in so many other manga and anime and other stories that it kind of gets a little cliche. So I'm glad that Mob Psycho went against the grain and had him get rejected and then have to go from there and become a stronger, better person because of it. And he cries and lets that emotion out. That's something else too. By the end of the series, Mob is able to express emotions so much easier, like a normal character would, right? And that's not, and I hate to use that word normal because I know a lot of people don't show emotions as much. And that's not to say that, but Mob's always had these emotions inside of him from the start, right? Ritsu talks about how he originally was a very emotional person. It's just the incident that happened between him and Ritsu caused him to repress those emotions. And what I love is by the end of it, he's able to express those emotions openly and be himself once again. That's really, really good. And yeah, Emmy was honest about the deception and she doesn't lie to him anymore and is genuinely friendly. Yeah, if people ship Emmy with Mob, I get it. I really would love if one did a 10 years later one shot of Mob Psycho 100. If you did a 10 years later and we see Mob as an adult and we see how Reagan and Sarah Zauer are doing, because I'm sure they're still going to be working in the Spirits and Such consulting agency as partners in their 40s, you know, just like you do. I'm sure that's going to be the case, but I would love to see like Mob in his 20s and to do like a one shot where we see what Ritsu's doing, what Sho's doing, what Teru's doing, like to see all of them, like what are their professions? What do they end up doing later in life? Like that would be cool. Is Tomei still working at Spirits and Such? Like how did that go? That would have been really cool. I would love that. So yeah, maybe one will do that one day. Who knows? I'm excited. I've got some Mob Psycho merchandise ordered and it's not going to get here till this summer. So that's going to be nice. It's going to be able to be put up on the shelf somewhere, or I've got a shelf over there behind Whiteboard Coon. It may end up over there, but I'll show y'all at some point either way. Tomei and Inukawa. Ooh, that's an interesting ship. I was honestly expecting Tomei and Takanaka to do something in the anime, and they don't. I was really expecting that to maybe become a thing. But Inukawa with Tomei, I could totally get. I really like that, Dan. I think that ship would work really cool, especially knowing that Inukawa has had experiences with aliens, and that's what Tomei wants. So they have a common factor there they can build off of, right? 10 years later, Reagan just gets a bigger house. Reagan deserves a big apartment. Him and Sarazawa could get like a place to live in together, you know, as platonic besties or otherwise, right? Inukawa and the alien girl. What a weird storyline, right? That episode, it was the rule of 8 for season 3. I was like, oh, the 8th episode is going to be really, really fun and interesting. And it was just not in the way we really expected it to be, right? What a bizarre episode. Just crazy talk, right? So bizarre. All right. So season 2, we got a little bit off track. Favorite episodes. I'm going to type in the chat with you all. Favorite episodes of season 2. Kaylin V, speaking of Rule 8, how did that come to be? Well, I started out, I watched a couple of series. There were only 12 episodes. And I noticed that episode 8 seemed to be, one, it is my lucky number. 8 is my lucky number. So I always was like, oh, my lucky number is 8. So I'm going to look forward to episode 8. But I think it was around the time of Skate the Infinity when I was watching that series that I realized that the 8th episode of a short 11 to 13 episode series, something crazy was going to happen. Something insane was going to happen in that episode. And then I started noticing it with other short series, being like, wow, no, this is happening consistently. And then if you look at the narrative structure, because I'm an English teacher, so I geek out about literature. In a literary narrative structure, you have 3 acts. And if you're doing 12 episodes, then you just divide it by 3. So your first 4 episodes are act 1. Your second 4 episodes are act 2, and your third set of episodes are act 3. And episode 8 falls in line with right at the end of act 2, right before the turning point into the final arc of the act. So that was kind of my justification for it, but it's worked out. Every short series I've watched, episode 8 has been either really impactful to the plot, really good, or really bonkers. One of those 3 things, but I always enjoy episode 8. It has not let me down. I've been like, yes. And Mob Psycho, every 8th episode, something crazy happened that was either going to be relevant to the plot or really enjoyable. So there we go, right? So in the chat, I'm typing out my favorite episodes of season 2 in no particular order. I'm just going to put them in order of when they happen, which is going to be episodes 5, 7, 8, 12, and 13. Although I'm going to put a caveat here, and my caveat is going to be and the episode where Sarazawa, if I can type his name right, saves Reagan. Yes. So I can't remember. I think that might be episode 10, that one. But most short shows with 12 episodes, the conflict can be resolved in like 3 episodes. So the eighth would be bonkers when they set up the resolution. I don't know about that. Could we say the conflict could get resolved in a short series in 3 episodes? Maybe technically, but what fun would that be, right? What fun would that be? So yeah, my favorite episodes of season 2. Episode 5 is the one with Mogami, where we get his plot line and that crazy darkness. That's all set up with him there. Episode 7 is the one where we get Reagan being confronted by Mob to say, "I know who you are. You're just a normal guy." That episode is so good. And then the follow-up episode for that is like where everything starts to go into the final act. Again, 8, and from there, we last 2 episodes of season 2, which are him versus Suzuki, which is just that whole battle, the animation, Mob like sacrificing himself to save Suzuki. It was so good. The name Mogami is nope, no, por favor. Mogami is such a creepy character. He really is. And like we talked about earlier, the idea of how dark this series can get, where it gets so dark in season 2 because like the character of Mogami, someone that killed himself to become a vengeful spirit, is just absolutely insane to me. Yeah, H Banana, I'm surprised Mogami did not make a comeback in the 3rd season either. He's kind of there a little bit, not much. I'm excited to read the manga and get into Mogami as well and see how that character is featured there too, right? I'm excited to see how that goes. But yeah, so those are my favorites from season 2, and then we might as well just put season 3 favorite episodes on here. And that is going to be in no particular order. Episode 6 with Dimple, episode 6 with Dimple leaving, and then 9, 10, 11, and basically 12 through 13. Although I would put episode 12 is fine, but yeah, it makes sense why he doesn't involve himself much. Yeah, I could see that Mogami would not want to come back and be involved because he's just like, screw you all. I don't want to be there, right? And then season 3, like I said, I feel like the first part of season 3, it definitely felt like the ending of the show. And that part was very bittersweet. And then obviously the end of the Divine Tree arc is just crazy in itself. And then the final arc is just so good. Dan Simmons, I thought he was going to be the last bad guys, but Mob being the actual bad guy was foreshadowed since season 1 after the Terror fight. Yeah, that's been the thing, right? They do such a good job the entire season, the entire series of foreshadowing that Mob. And the funny thing is, it's so perfect thematic wise that Mob, the biggest enemy Mob has is himself. And that's kind of, there are so many shows I'm watching right now where the theme is you are your biggest enemy. You don't have enemies elsewhere. It's just you versus yourself. And it was such a great thing to see in this series because it's so perfect from beginning to end. That it's always been about Mob coming to terms with who he is, with his powers, how he wants to be, his identity. And then season 3 like wraps all of that up, right? Kaylin B, I'm like, Mogami, get back in the jar. Isn't that so weird that that the one guy from Claw ends up with him in a jar? I always thought that was amazing. I loved that. Mogami was a great villain for when he was in the series. He was perfect for the time given. Although his ability to influence Mob in that flashback and his memories, terrifying, right? Terrifying. Let me see here. Is there any other comments before we get to... We've been on for about an hour now. This hour's flown by, y'all. It has flown by. And I feel like the character tier is going to take us a little bit. So I am going to imagine being a comical, squeezing into a jar and jumping on top of stuff him in. Yeah, that would be great. So I've got pulled up here. Like I said, I've got a character tier pulled up here. I'm going to take a photo of it when we're done and put it in the community post on there and let you all see. But I have basically, there's 6 rankings here. There is our S+ tier, God tier. There is the S tier for being saintly, the A-OK tier, that everybody's okay, the B, deserve better tier, C, which is meh. The C tier for me is always like, I don't remember you. Who are you? And then the D tier is done with. Like D is just, we're done. Don't need to bother with you. No, thank you. So Dimple is to the God tier. I think we should might as well go ahead and get 2 characters out of the way, right? We should go ahead and get Mob out of the way, put Mob in the S++ God tier because it needs to happen. Mob needs to be up there. And then we're going to put Dimple up there as well. I honestly feel like if anybody deserves to be in the S++ tier, it's Mob, it's Dimple. Both of those characters, they are fantastic from end to end. And I'm going to put Reagan up there too. I don't care if people say Reagan goes into the God tier. The whole story of Mob Psycho, it's Mob and Reagan. It's mainly Mob, but Reagan and Dimple are like right next. Reagan, because we all want him to get the D. We all do want Reagan to get the D. That is very true, but he does not deserve to be in the done with pile. I'm sure a lot of people after Reagan sweep were done with him and wanted him to be in the D tier, but I did wonder that if in a meta way, were they just done with Reagan in the comment section for all the episodes because he had been winning so much they were like, get this guy out of here? H Banana, Suzuki is kind of, where should we put Suzuki? Because that's a really good question. Where does Suzuki belong on the tier if we're going to rank him? I'm going to ask the chat for help with this one while I go through a couple of these. Inakawa is going to be an A rank. Inakawa is an A rank, and I would put Tomei in A rank as well. They're both really good characters. They are A-okay. But yeah, Suzuki, where do we put him? Ritsu, I'm going to put Ritsu in the saintly tier. I loved Ritsu's character so much. Ritsu was just a really awesome character as a brother, as a psychic, all of that. And I'm going to put Sho in the saintly character as well. Suzuki, I honestly am going to put Suzuki in... The only reason I'm going to put him in A rank, being A-okay, is like in terms of the story... His character was wonky, but the whole mirroring Mob thing is good. I'm going to put Suzuki just in A rank. He's not S tier like Ritsu. He's not God tier like Mob. He's just kind of A rank because he does have a really good point. He does serve a great purpose at the end of season 2 to set up a lot with Mob's character. And then in season 3, him coming back to try to stop Mob, I think was really good. I loved that twist of him trying to redeem himself a little bit. And then him and Sho kind of have a moment where they bond with one another. So yeah, I would say Suzuki deserves to be A ranked, but that's about as far as he goes. Serizawa, he gets S tier. Where's that boy at? He's got the afro in my image here. Serizawa gets to be S tier. Sho is an S tier as well. There's an S+ tier that's God tier. There's an S tier that's like, you're really, really good. And then there's A rank, B rank, and so on. Sho and Ritsu and Serizawa. I would almost put Serizawa in the God tier, but I think the only 3 characters that deserve being God tier are Mob, Reagan, and Dimple. I think those 3, those are our holy trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are in our God tier. That's what we get. We get the faux dad, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They get to be in the God tier. Yes. Now none of you will ever be able to think of Mob, Reagan, and Dimple except being the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit ever again. You're welcome. So we'll do that, but we'll have Ritsu, Sho, Serizawa in S tier. Well, I am slightly religious too, Kaylin, so we got that together. Teru also gets to go in the S tier. I'm gonna put Teru up there. Them obviously he needs to. Is there any character that we think deserved better? Any character that did not get a fair shake in this series? I'm gonna put Goda in A tier because Goda, he is the GOAT, the Body Improvement Club president. He deserves the moon. I love his character. Gets to go in A tier. I don't know if we should put Goda in S tier. We're going to put him in A tier for right now. But is there anybody that deserved better in the series? Trying to think. I wanted to see more with Masato. I'm going to put her in B rank. I liked Masato a lot, but I wanted more with Masato. I thought Masato had a good role in this series, but I kept expecting more out of her and for her to have more impact. And she does have impact, but I kept wanting her character to do more. I was like, come on, girl. I kept wanting her to be in the plot more, and maybe in the manga she is, but she was just kind of like fine for the series. But yeah, all right. The Body Improvement Club goes an A for abs. I will agree with that. So I'm gonna put the Body Improvement Club, including Ogawara. Bless him. Ogawara gets to go up in there. So let me find the Body Improvement Club. They're easy to find on this because they have the same shirt. So they're easy to locate out of the group. So yeah, we're gonna put them in A tier. Good on them. What else do we have here in the chat? Mazato's crazy obsession as a cult leader never had a resolution. Yeah, I agree. I felt like Masato, I kept thinking with the Divine Triarch, she was gonna like have a big moment where she would do something with Mob in that, but it doesn't happen. So it was like, yeah, Tomei. I'll put Tomei in A rank only because she gets a little bit more resolution with her character in season 3 and in the Reagan manga. I'm going to count the Reagan manga in this too. She gets more with that. So I'll put her in A rank. But and then we have the members of Claw. The members of Claw, I feel like some of them deserve to be in A rank. I'm going to put Judo in B rank. Wanted to see more with Judo. Would have been cool to see that. The members of Claw, I feel like a lot of them are in B rank too. They're fine. They're just like, I will make an exception though. I love Sakurai. I'm putting Sakurai in A rank because I have a hopeless obsession with Hosoya, his voice actor, and I love his voice actor. And plus, his character gets to come back in season 3 and have things to do. So I'm gonna put Sakurai in A rank because he's probably one of my favorite members of Claw. The other ones I'm gonna put down in B rank because we don't really see too much of them. But let's see, who else do we have here? What about the members of the psychic group that were with? I know there's Daichi in one of them. Sakurai was the best, yes. And I'm going to say the one that has the jar, I'm going to put him in A rank too because I really liked his character as well. The one that fought Dimple, I'm going to put him up in A rank as well. He was one of my favorites. Him and Sakurai were my favorites of that group. The one old man in the gas mask, he's going to go down to C because he's kind of meh. Don't really have much to do with him. I liked the twins, and I liked Inoue. I liked her. Basically, I feel like Claw members and the psychic members all kind of go together in B rank because I wanted to see more of them, but we just didn't get too much of it, right? One thing about Mob Psycho is that there are a lot of like colossal characters. Like in literature, we talk about colossal protagonists. It's a Shakespearean term. And you have Reagan and Mob are like colossal characters. They kind of overtake the story. And then you have Dimple and Ritsu and Sho and Teru and Serizawa. And then after that, the characters just kind of like, they're there, but they don't have nearly the screen time and presence as those like top 6 do, right? So we get in them, these characters here. What about Mogami? Where should we put Mogami in all of this? If we were doing a character tier ranking, would we put Mogami in B or C? Are we done with him? What should we do with Mogami? I'm so curious what you all think. Looking down at the chat, seeing if we got anything. Don't know. I will tell one character that I am done with that's going to get D rank, and that is the bad guy in the Reagan manga. It's like, get him out of here. No, thank you. Emmy, I liked her character. I'm going to put her in A rank. She was good. The one character that was like possessed during the arc where Mob had to go like inside that person to battle him, they're getting B rank. The psychic leader, the leader of all the psychic kids, the one that gathered them all together, I'm going to put him in C rank. He was kind of meh. I wanted more with his character too. I wanted more with him. Mogami, I'm going to put Mogami in B rank because I don't like him enough to be A rank, but I don't dislike him enough to be C or D. He's a very compelling character and he has a purpose in the plot. He serves his purpose really well. I just wanted more of him, kind of like with the members of Claw and the others. And so then I've got some meh characters I don't quite remember in the series that I'm going to put them in the meh. I do like the one Shinya. Shinya, I like him. We're going to put him in B. And then any other characters? I guess we're left with Tsubomi. Where do we put Tsubomi? Where do we put Tsubomi at? What do y'all think? I'm going to put Tsubomi. You know what? What we got here? We got some here. The delinquent guy, Onigawara. I wanted more from him. I did. I put him in A rank because I liked Onigawara's character and I liked him. Put her in F. Just do it. You know what? I ended up being very neutral with Tsubomi, so I don't want to give her a bad rank. I'm going to put Tsubomi in B. I wanted more with Tsubomi. I wanted her more with her. I didn't dislike her by the end of this series, and I was pleasantly surprised about that. But I'm not going to put her in A rank because I think she was fine. She was fine. And then the last one is Doodle Mob. The whole time in the last arc with Mob battling the Nega version of himself, I kept thinking of two different series. I thought of either Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where Scott Pilgrim faces Nega Scott at the very end of the series. I thought of that with the version of Mob. And then I thought of Doodle Bob, which is the SpongeBob doodle that kind of takes on a life of its own and starts to erase SpongeBob, just like the doodle situations. I was thinking of Scott Pilgrim and Doodle Bob with that. So Broccoli Mob. Oh, Broccoli Mob was not in the character tier. But Broccoli Mob, I'm going to put D, done with. That thing was creepy as F. No, thank you. That thing was terrifying. Nope. I'm going to put Doodle Mob down as a surrogate in D, just to be done with. If I'm going to have Mob in the God tier, I have to have Doodle Mob down at the bottom to contrast. It's about balance. It's about balance. So yeah, I'm going to take a photo of this now. Get my thing pulled up. I'm going to take a photo of it so I can put it in the community post later to show everybody kind of where we're at with them and how we do with Mob Psycho. Here we go. Awesome. So got it. Cool. Good deal. So yeah, I have mapped out an hour and a half to 2 hours for this chat, and we still have a little bit of time left to go. So we've got like about 15, 20 minutes. So I do want to ask you all, in this now, if we have any questions about Mob Psycho, what you all have before we open it up to just general questions about the channel in general. If there's any other questions about Mob Psycho, is Mob in my top 10? Oh my God. I asked for a question and you just take like a grenade and you're like, ha! That's so hard. That's so hard. I'm gonna pull up my anime list and go through and look at that simultaneously while I'm talking to you all, because that's asking what's your favorite song. Like, that's such a hard question. Oh man, Dan, you just asked like the most insane question. If I'm going through this series, that's a 1 hour question, right? We'll be here the rest of the chat trying to figure out what's my top 10. Oh man. If I'm looking through this right now, if I'm starting from the bottom and going up through there, if I'm thinking of my favorite series, I'm looking through here, and I mean, this is so hard because it's like you're comparing, completed series that I've seen of the ones that have ended. Okay, there we go. Top 10 shonen action. Okay, because it is considered a shonen, right? I would say that in shonen, and I'm not going to count sports anime. This is not counting sports anime because I consider sports anime to be their own genre outside of everything, right? And this is all subjective because it's going to change. Like anytime I put a top tier list, it's like as soon as I do that, then I instantly have regrets because I'm like, well, okay. So I would say in my top 10 shonen battle action anime. Oh God, because I'm like, do we consider Vinland Saga and Attack on Titan as part of that? I feel like we have to almost. Vinland Saga and Attack on Titan are up in there. They're up in there as far as that goes. And then if we include Mob Psycho in there, I think we can include Mob Psycho in that as well, because then it's so hard because I'm like, then do you include Neon Genesis up in there as well? You almost have to. And if you're not counting, Jujutsu Kaisen would be up in there as well. Definitely Jujutsu Kaisen would be in there too. And then Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Full Metal Alchemist would be up in there as well. And then I would say to add with that, probably Death Note. Well, Death Note's not really a battle shonen, but it's just kind of a shonen. Death Note would be in there. and then Dragon Ball Z. What a weird combo, right? And Dragon Ball Z would be up there as well. And then, oh God. Oh, then it would be from there. Man, Bungo Stray Dogs would be up there as well. And then, do we do My Hero Academia? Is there anything outside of those? Ugh. Now, see, here's the thing with Hunter x Hunter. Yeah, Mob feels weird around those shows. It doesn't feel like it fits, right? It feels like a weird. I don't consider Mob a battle shonen necessarily, which is the funniest thing. It's so much more than that, right? Mob doesn't have a villain of the week like a lot of battle shonen does. So it's kind of hard to say that. I feel like you almost have to put like historical fiction in its own thing. I feel like Vinland Saga and Attack on Titan are almost in a genre of their own, and you have like Monster up in there too. Like they're more psychological, and you need to put those over there, which I guess Mob would fit into as well, right? It is more slice of life with supernatural elements, Dan. That's a good way of putting it. P, I have not finished Hunter x Hunter. I started binging it with my brother years ago, and I stopped when I started the channel because I was like, oh, well, I'll go back and react to it later and give it. Because at the time, it was during COVID. It was right before I started the channel, and I was just binging it with him, but I wasn't really paying attention to the series. So we were just like binging through episodes, and I wasn't critically evaluating them. So I think if I went back and watched Hunter x Hunter from the start, I would have to like go through and go with it. But I've not finished it, so please no spoilers with that series. But yeah, so Mob is a coming of age show, so it is really hard to compare it to with some others. It's kind of stands on its own, which is what I love about Mob Psycho. It's unique. I feel like Mob Psycho is one of the more unique shows I've ever watched, and it's hard to just categorize it as a battle shonen or as a slice of life or as a supernatural thriller. It's hard. It's got elements of all of those, but it's hard to just say, here's the genre that it is. I will say it's one of my favorites. I will say of all the series, I've got this right here because I haven't popped it out of my DVD player yet. I mean, I've got season 2 or season 1 here because I had the OVAs that went with it. And now I need to get season 2 and season 3. But I don't have a lot of series with the Blu-rays. So, I'm avoiding the question so smoothly because that's such a hard question. That's like saying, what's your top 10 favorite songs out of thousands of songs? You have to almost sort them into genres. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So, and now I'm trying to figure out in my head, what genre does Mob Psycho fall into? Is it slice of life? Is it shonen? It's not really a battle anime. So is it just slice of life? Is it supernatural? It's not a romance, so you can cut that out, but I will say it's one of my favorites. And that's all I can say because it would be in the top 20, I guess. I'll say top 20. Top 20 for sure. Top 10, you'd ask me, I have to sit down and like do a whole criteria and a rubric and like map everything out on Conspiracy Board Sama. But yeah, it has a lot of shonen tropes, but then it defies a lot of shonen tropes. So it's very hard to categorize. It's definitely unique. It's probably one of the most unique series I've ever watched. And I think that can make it amazing in ways. And I think it can also make it difficult for people to access it sometimes because they're expecting one thing and then they get something totally different. I think that's something about it too. It feels like Mob Psycho is popular in the zeitgeist, like people know about it, but they don't all watch it. Does that make sense? I feel like people know about Mob Psycho, but when you ask if they've watched it or not, they're like, well, I've not seen all of it. I've seen parts of it. And you're like, so you can't really talk about it because there's so many spoilers, right? So like when people tune into this live stream, they're like, oh, you're talking season 3, bye. I'm like, how have you not seen season 3? One of those deals. But hello, Sabliz. Thank you. I will say that I will be doing other live streams this summer, hopefully for shows that you've watched. So this is full of spoilers. So if you've not watched Mob Psycho, this is my biggest plug to go watch it because it is one of the most unique shows that I have watched in the history of this channel. It's just crazy. And yeah, Truck is getting to a good point. It's shonen as a demographic. It's targeted to young male audiences, right? And that's why it's in like Shonen Jump. But when it comes to genre, it's comedy, supernatural, and slice of life. Yes. Now, in terms of comedy, it's in the top 10 for sure. On this channel, top 10 for sure. In terms of comedy, absolutely. Supernatural and slice of life, it's in the top 20. I don't know if it's in the top 10 because there's a lot of different shows that could go with that. That's such a loaded question. We could be here all day answering that question. So yeah, that's a good one, Dana. I'm glad you asked that. It will definitely be a show that I will always be happy to rewatch and look back on. And I have a feeling that when I go to watch clips of a series, it's going to be one that's easy for me to turn to. I'll go find a clip of Reagan, find a clip of Sarazawa, find a clip of Mob and Dimple, and the humor of it is also so timeless. I think that that's one thing, is that sometimes in comedy is situational, and it's dated by its history, it's dated by pop culture references, it's dated, like, there's a lot of anime I've watched and the comedy has been reliant upon whether you know a pop culture reference or you know a historical reference for it to be funny. And if you don't know the reference, it's not funny. But one thing that's so great about Mob Psycho is that the comedy is universal. It's comedy that affects like things that we've experienced in our daily lives, comedy that's just central to the characters. It's comedy that kind of transcends and is timeless. And I think that helps make the series so good, is because it's something that anybody can find something they like about it, right? Ah, so I'm glad you know the series, and I understand that. Like, I feel like a lot of people have put off season 3, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because they know it's the last of the series and they don't want to get to it. They're like, if I don't watch the ending, it's never ended, right? So I feel like that's a lot of reasons a lot of people haven't watched season 3. That, and there's just so much good anime on right now. There's so many good series. Like, I feel so bad on this channel because I work full time and my summer schedule is a lot lighter in terms of work, but I do work full time, and so I can only do so much on the channel, and it bothers me a lot because it's not getting burnt out. I want to do more, and there's not enough hours in the day to do what I want to do. So it always like makes me go, oh, I wish I had more time to do that, right? Something you just said, Mob Psycho is not a shonen. It was originally a web comic. Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. So it started out by one as a web comic and then was just published in volumes. That's good to know, Truck. Thank you for pointing that out. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if one, because I know One Punch Man has been published in Shonen Jump. One Punch Man is published in an actual shonen magazine, but I didn't know that about Mob. So that's good to know. All right. Any other questions about Mob Psycho? About this amazing series? Or I guess at this point, we got like probably 15-20 minutes left. We can open up any questions about the channel, about things. Would you recommend Mob to a non-anime fan? Ooh. And as I say that, my dogs are gonna go crazy. But yeah, ignore them. They're barking and it's fun. They probably saw a squirrel. I would. I think that, like I said, the humor is timeless enough that you can the humor is timeless enough that anybody can access it and find it funny. But I think it's also a good, hey Ruby, Huckleberry. Why did it stop barking? I think that you could watch Mob Psycho even if you weren't a anime fan and get something out of it, but it would be a nice gateway series into anime because the themes that are touched upon in Mob Psycho are something you could watch in like a non-anime show and really appreciate it, but it could be a nice gateway into anime by watching Mob Psycho. I totally think that's true. Definitely. Da, da, da. There's only, yeah, and there's only so much time, and I feel bad because there's lots of new series that have come out that I'm like, oh, I want to watch that, and so I have it planned to watch Bungo Stray Dogs and Jujutsu Kaisen when they come out this summer because one, I've waited literal years for season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, so I want to watch it, and two, because Bungo Stray Dogs, I just came off of season 4, and I'm like, I got to see season 5. But there's other series that I want to get into and other series I want to catch up with that I just don't have time for at the moment. So if they're on my list to eventually poll or get to, it's just a matter of time, right? It's just a matter of time. So yeah. Any other questions about Mob Psycho or about the channel in general that you all have on here? I know this is kind of like a weird time to be tuning in the middle of the day for the live stream, but I really appreciate you guys coming and talking about it. I have enjoyed on the Discord having so much artwork shared. That is one thing that now I feel good knowing that now that I've seen the series in full. The one thing about finishing a series that's bittersweet is you always feel sad that you're ending the series and you're like, I want more content. I'm always sad that I'm ending it. But the one nice thing is that now the floodgates are open and I can read as much fan fiction as I want. I can look up as much fan art on Twitter as I want and on Tumblr. I can get on and be totally unspoiled and just completely revel in the Mob Psycho artwork. So I still am, even though the series is ending. If you're on the Discord on Patreon, I'm still going to try to find Mob Psycho art and share it. And I encourage people to share it on the Discord. Even though the series is finished, we can talk about the fan art. We can talk about the ships. We can do so much more still. And I still want to embrace that because now that the floodgates are open, I can read Mob Psycho and not be spoiled about it. That's the one exciting thing that I'm really looking forward to is not being restricted because for all the other series on the channel, I don't look at spoilers. I have like all these bid words and phrases that I'm not spoiled. I don't get on YouTube a lot and do that, so it's just kind of crazy. But thank you, Seblis, for joining. It's time zones are weird, right? Yes. See you next time. Thank you for coming by. Good luck on your errands. Stay safe out there. There could be psychics. But yeah, I really do. It is hard to avoid spoilers. And so whenever I totally finish a series, I always get this big sense of relief because I'm like, now I can look up things, official art, merchandise, things like that, and not feel spoiled. That's always the best feeling about it. March comes in like a lion. Oh, P. March comes in like a lion has been on the polls so many times. It's going to stay on the polls until I get to it. I've heard it's so good, and it's definitely been one that I want to watch. So it's definitely going to stay on there. So that's definitely going to be a thing. So no worries there. No worries there. But yeah, any other questions that you all have about Mob Psycho? Why did Teru have acne only on his ass? Was it acne? I feel like the worst person. I always thought it was hair. I thought it was hair. I thought he had a hairy butt. I've thought this whole time that it was just Teru had a hairy butt and they were making fun of it, but it was acne. Oh my God. I mean, he's a teenage boy, Lyndon. He's a teenage boy. Maybe, is it hair, H Banana? Oh my God, is it? This is the controversy we need to solve. Was the marks on Teru's butt this whole time acne or hair? This is the true discussion we've been building this entire stream up to. The true thing to get out of the way. I thought it was hair, but if it was acne, I mean, it would make sense. Why does he only have hair on his ass? Because Teru, we'll email one right now about this. I mean, there could be two reasons. One, because the mangaka was like, that will be hilarious and it's unexpected and I'm going to do it because of those reasons. And two, because Teru probably manscapes everything else because he's a very metrosexual character and is all about his appearance, but he knows nobody's going to see his butt anytime soon. So why does he have to worry about that? If there was like a thing where Teru had to constantly like shave parts of his body or something for an aesthetic, I would totally get on board with that. But yes, we should contact one and say, this is a lingering question that we need answered. Why does Teru's rear end have hair? When I got on this chat this morning, I was expecting lots of questions from you all. That was not one of them. So thank you, Lyndon, for going above and beyond to answer that question. That is absolutely amazing. So I might as well talk about, before we end this live stream, might as well talk about the series that is replacing Mob Psycho on here. Thank you. We did a poll on Patreon. Like I said, coming in July on Sundays, we're going to have Bungo Stray Dogs season 5 that's going to be starting. And so I was going to do that, but I wanted to find like a short series to watch in between now and then, or at least to start between now and then to kind of have, so we didn't have just like a gap here while we were waiting. And so we did a poll and Truck, I'll get to your question here in a second. And the series that won is one that I've been recommended for a long time that I've been really excited to get to. I've only watched the first episode of it, but I already am really excited. And it is The Millionaire Detective. Balance Unlimited. So that is going to be the series replacing Mob Psycho, not this weekend, but the week after next. While we wait on season 5 of Bungo Stray Dogs. I've only watched the first episode, but I love it so far. I'm so intrigued. The two main characters, I'm like, yes, please, let's get into this. So, Truck, you said, what questions were you expecting from us? Honestly, the character tiers, the episode rankings, which I talked about, my top 5 from those. And then you all asked questions about, I was not expecting the ass hair question, but just asking questions about Mob's accessibility, the themes of it. It is a unique series. I didn't really know exactly what questions would be asked because this series is what's so interesting is it's kind of a flawless series. There's not a lot of things left unsaid. Like we talked about in the character tier, there's definitely characters that could have had more to them and more time in the series. And maybe when I get to the manga, I'll see that. But overall, the series from start to finish was just so good and was so complete that I felt like by the end of it, I didn't feel sad when I finished Mob Psycho. I felt this sense of, okay, it's done. It's over. That I felt so satisfied. Hello. I'm almost done with the stream, but you guys will be able to go back and see it at the end of it. I saw Mitsui in your Twitter cover. I knew that you were one of my favorite. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, definitely Mitsui. Of course. In the Twitter cover. Have to include them in there, right? So yeah, I didn't feel sad ending Mob Psycho. There's been other series that I've finished on this channel that I felt bittersweet about because I was left wanting more, or I was left with unanswered questions like, well, what now? But I just did a live stream about Death Note, and this is my second live stream for the summer. And with both of these series so far, I felt like a sense of satisfaction and knowing that, okay, we did it. We completed the series. The story is finished. And I felt this nice sense of closure, which was really, really good. So I can't say that anything's left unsaid. I'm just happy that it went out on a really high note and that it went out really strong. Like this series, it didn't like putter out and fade away. It ended like it felt like the mangaka had a very clear cut beginning, middle, end, and got to do what they wanted to do. And I'm so happy that Bones animated it. And I'm so happy, didn't get to talk about this yet, but I'm so happy that Bones took the time to animate it amazingly. Like they took their time to hone in their craft and dedicated so much to the animation of the series to make it look so damn good. I was just, it's so good, right? But yeah, let me get to some other questions. But yeah, the animation, Bones deserves a lot of praise for making Mob Psycho as good as it was. What are the other live streams that are coming up? Well, Truck, since you asked, I'm going to get my calendar out here and look through it real quick because I'm a teacher. I have to plan everything out. So next weekend, next Sunday at 1 p.m. is going to be about Sarune and Free. Going to do a live stream talking about Sarune and Free since I just finished part 2 of all the Free movies, or the Free franchise is officially over. And Sarune, my fingers are crossed that it's not over, but I want to talk about seasons 1 and season 2 with it just in case. So I'm going to talk about Sarune, going to talk about Free next Sunday. And then the following Friday, which is going to be Friday, June 9th, is going to be about The Great Pretender, because I'm going to be finishing up The Great Pretender and doing a live stream about it on that Friday. And then that next Sunday, June 18th, we're going to do Buddy Daddies. Going to do a live stream about it. And then the following Sunday, rounding out June, is going to be about Fire Punch and Fujimoto. So I will, I'm going to type that in the chat. Upcoming live streams, while you all, if you have any questions, are going to be June 4th is going to be Sarune and Free. And then June 9th is going to be about The Great Pretender. And then June 18th is going to be Buddy Daddies, talking about that series. and June 25th is going to be Fujimoto and Fire Punch. So those were the live streams that I had in mind for this summer. And then the last one, date to be determined, is going to be Death Parade. When we finish Death Parade, we're going to have a live stream about it. So yeah, the last one's to be determined. But yeah, those are basically it in terms of the live streams I got set. So most of them are on Sundays, but there's going to be one on a Friday to kind of adjust with my schedule. And then we'll figure out the Death Parade one. But yeah. Are you ever planning on watching more Bungo Stray Dogs stage plays? Yes. The only reason that I'm not watching any more Bungo Stray Dogs right now is because season 5 is coming up. This weekend, though, for you all on YouTube, I'm going to be doing a recap of the manga that was touched on in season 4 for Bungo Stray Dogs, because I'd heard there was stuff left out of the manga. So I'm going to do a reaction of the Bungo Stray Dogs manga of season 4. It's going to be on YouTube for you all this coming Sunday. Yay, raw. And then season 5, we're going to have, I'm not doing the Bungo Stray Dogs stage plays right now because season 5 is right around the corner. And I know once season 5 is over, I'm going to miss Bungo Stray Dogs and I'm going to need something to go back to satisfy myself. And so I'm going to save those for when I'm having Bungo Stray Dogs withdrawals. And I want to do Beast and all that eventually too. So that's going to be down the road. But that's a really good question. Undecided Toy Store. As a teacher, do you think it'd ever be viable to give literature or textual analysis type class around anime or manga in school settings? My brother and I love watching your AOT and Neon Genesis lectures. Oh my God, thank you. I cannot tell you how much I would love to do a seminar and just center it around Attack on Titan or Neon Genesis. The problem is you'd have to create all of the curriculum around that one series. And that would take a lot of timing. I would love to do, though, eventually, I would love, because I've taught a creative writing class before. I would love to teach a creative writing class and look at narrative tropes and use anime as a backdrop to kind of explore different narrative tropes with characters and themes and things like that. Like, that would be absolutely amazing. And one day I hope I will get the chance to do that. But I've had, honestly, and it kind of depends on your class too, because I've had classes where with Whiteboard Coon, well, you know, everywhere I teach is pretty much just walls of Whiteboard Coon. It's Whiteboard Coon siblings. It's Whiteboard Sama, but dry erase board Sama, basically. What I would love to do is, I love when I have students that are into anime in my classes because it makes it a lot more easy to dive into that discussion. Like, for example, I've had some classes where I had a student that was really into Yuri on Ice. And so we could kind of use that as a springboard into a discussion as well. Oh, hello, Amaru. Good luck on your exams. Watch Mob Psycho when you're done with exams. Good luck on them, though. I hope you do awesome. Yay, raw. But yeah, I'd honestly... It helps when you have students that are into anime because it makes that jump a lot easier when you have a class of students that are into anime. And I couldn't imagine not being an anime person and then me being like, so now I'm going to pull up Buddy Daddies and we're going to explain that. And they'd be like, wait, what? But I know exam time. It's so interesting how everyone else does the school system. Like right now, I'm going to be teaching a bunch of online classes this summer, but it's kind of an off season for academia where I'm at. So even though I'm teaching some online classes, it's not like the normal academic period. So it's very different. So my summer gives me a little bit more time, which is why I'm doing these live streams in June, because I have some more time to do it. But that's so interesting. So yeah. But any other questions with y'all before we round out this live stream? I've really enjoyed talking with y'all about Mob Psycho. It's been so much fun. We're not going to have another live stream till June 4th, but then we'll be talking about Sarune and Free and anything that comes up over there. This live stream is going to get saved. I'm going to post a link to it over on Patreon so that patrons can see it if they weren't around. But I've really, really enjoyed talking with you all. Would you ever watch something that's not anime, like Over the Garden Wall? I didn't Semblance of Sanity just recently do a reaction to that series. I felt like I saw something about it. That's the thing. Eventually, yes. My only problem is that there's so much anime. There's so much anime to get through and so much to tackle, but I would consider putting something like that on a poll in the future just to see what people think about it and if they would vote for it. So I would really be interested in it. So yeah, I'm not going to say I would never do it. It definitely has a chance to be on the polls on Patreon in the future. But that's a good question. I didn't know it was not anime. Oh, it's 9 episodes of 10 minutes. Oh, well, you know what, Dan? You know what? That is a really, knowing that, I've gotten a poll ready. So if I get to like, I don't know, an arbitrary number, if I get to like 8,000 or not 8,000, if I get to 8,000 subscribers on YouTube or like 400 patrons, I'll put it on a poll and do it maybe for like a special subscriber goal met thing, because only 9 episodes of 10 minutes, that's only 90 minutes. That's not that long. Yeah, we could do that. Sure. You all heard it here. If I get to 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'll do Over the Garden Wall. Gonna write it down. Gonna make myself a note. You all suggested it. I'm gonna do it right there because I'm gonna say that that's the case. Yep, we're gonna do it. Sure. Put that goal down. So yeah, we'll put that down there. I'm not opposed. Challenge accepted. I'm just grateful that you all have been so kind and considerate and supportive. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, someone said, how is teaching? Teacher since I was in middle school. I just didn't know what I wanted to teach. I thought about teaching agriculture because I'm from a farm family. I thought about teaching art because I love drawing and doodling. But I always have loved stories, and I've always loved literature and reading about them and talking about them. And so the idea of being able to share that love of what I enjoy with people and kind of fostering that love for them too has always been a passion. And so yeah, I loved it. I do love teaching a lot. I teach older kids, which helps out a lot too, because I could never teach little kids. I substitute taught like grade school, elementary age kids for a while. That takes a lot of energy and a lot of patience, and you can't have conversations about deep literary analysis with the 5-year-olds. They're just like, I like this story, and you're like, okay. And that's pretty much it. So I do love teaching older people because you can have a much more nuanced conversation with them. Have you noticed newer generations being interested in anime and manga? I feel like the fact that we are so technologically advanced has helped manga and anime spread to younger audiences, because I feel like I grew up in the 90s, and it was when the internet was kind of like just becoming a thing that was mainstream. And so anime and manga felt like such a secret society. It felt like, because I'm in America, and in the US, it felt like it was just in the 90s getting manga imported over and getting dubbed selectively. And so to find an anime or manga felt like a secret society, like you were in on a little secret and an underground club that wasn't well known, or it was like shoved into the mainstream and people didn't know it was anime. They just thought, oh, this is a cartoon show, when really it was imported from Japan. So I do think now that we have streaming and the internet so prevalent, it's so much easier for younger audiences to find anime and get into it. So that's my thoughts on it. But yeah, I do notice a lot younger audiences love it. And I really love it. I love when my students are like, I'll see a student in the hallway. Like last semester, I saw a student and they had a Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. They had a Dazai patch on their jacket. And I was like, oh, Dazai. And they were like, you know. And I was giving a test at a high school. I was at a high school giving a test to a bunch of kids, and there was a guy, he had his Chromebook pulled up, and he had a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure wallpaper. And I was like, oh, my brother loves JoJo's. And I swear they looked at me like I had just gave them $1 million. And he looked at his friend and he was like, she knows JoJo's. I was like, yeah. So they were just like, she knows, it felt like such a cool thing to like connect with people. And anime and manga are one of those things that people get so passionate about it that the moment you find somebody else that likes it, you're like, you too? Okay, cool, great. I think that's why conventions are so much fun, because you get a gathering of people together that all have that same passion, and there's just such an energy about it, right? She's one of us. That's exactly, even though I've not seen JoJo's, my brother loves it. It's one of my brother's favorite shows. But they just looked at me like, she knows what it is. Like, I was like, yeah, sure. And they were like, oh my God. It's like you're speaking a native language. They were so excited. And of course, my brother has like a favorite season of JoJo's. That's all I know. I know nothing about JoJo's other than his favorite season. He loves part 4, Golden Wind or whatever it is. That's like his favorite. And I told those guys that, and they were like having a moment. And I was like, oh, I felt like I was in on the know. It was great. It was really, really fun. So I love moments like that where you can connect with people. And I feel like manga and anime do such a beautiful job of storytelling and character development. That's my thing. I'm a character driven person. So manga and anime have such developed characters in their stories that you can't help but feeling so connected to them. And that connectivity, one thing I love about this channel and like live streams like this is we can talk about these characters that have impacted us or that we relate to, or we find something in ourselves within them. And it's so fun, right? It's so cool. So yeah, like you're speaking a student's native language. Yeah. And that is the thing. I started this channel back during the pandemic because one, I was stuck by myself here alone. And I was like, I need to talk to someone about something. And also because no, none of my close friends or family, my brother is the only one close to me that likes manga or anime. No one else has a passion for it. No one else. My one friend, her sister likes anime. And so she's watched like Full Metal Alchemist and she's watched like a little bit of Skate the Infinity because of her sister, but that's it. Like, and I can talk to her about Skate the Infinity and be like, have you seen this? But other than that, they've not watched anything. And my best friend likes trashy reality shows, not anime. So when I bring up anime, they're like, oh, okay. And they're very supportive. They're my best friend for a reason, but they're like, oh, okay, cool. But they have no clue what I'm talking about. They're like, you like Sailor Moon, right? I was like, because that's like the one everybody thinks of when they think of anime. But yeah, no. So it's really cool to have this channel and to talk to you all in the comment section about these series because otherwise I'd have nobody else to talk to about it. So, and it's cool to get those feelings out, right? It's cool to talk to people about it and to share that passion and that love. So I'm very grateful that y'all are supportive in terms of that. So yeah. But man, oh, I'm really, really happy to finally get to like say my piece about Mob Psycho, how much I love it, and to talk with that with y'all about it. That's so wonderful. And I'm gonna miss this show. I am. I was really when we started getting into the last couple of episodes, it was starting to hit me that the series was getting over. And I kept hesitating and delaying my reactions more and more when I recorded because I usually try to record just ahead enough to get it ready for Patreon. And I was like getting down to the wire with some of the episodes because I was like, I don't want it to end. And I kept being like, I don't want to watch the last episode. I don't want to do it. And it was funny. I actually had been sick a few days before watching the last episode. And it was like the first day I felt better. And I was like, I need to watch the last episode. It was like going to be the last final like treatment to make me feel better. I was like, oh, good. And so, yeah, I'm really glad that I watched Mob Psycho. It was like each episode was like a mini therapy session sometimes. And it would definitely reached me sometimes watching the series when I needed it the most. So I was very, very grateful. But yeah, but thank you, Shimayama. Thank you guys so much. I really am thankful that you guys watch my reactions, my ramblings. I ramble for so long. Like this live stream, I'm like, I'm gonna be on here for an hour, and it's an hour and 42 minutes. But yeah, I'm glad you guys all listen and are so supportive and that you guys leave comments. And I've had some amazing discussions about Mob Psycho, and they've always brought a smile to my face. Like reading your comments, being like, and seeing how much everybody loves the show as well. It's made me feel so good. So I agree. When you have a community, like I feel like this channel has, when you have a community of people that are so passionate and they love these shows so much, it makes things so much more enjoyable. So I'm really happy about that. But yeah, so I'm really excited, y'all. I really hope that you all enjoyed this live stream discussion about Mob Psycho. If you've not watched Mob Psycho, go watch it. It's so freaking good. And then hello. And then June 4th, we're going to talk about Sarune and Free. I'm going to come back and talk about Kyoani and those series, you know? And we might talk about Violet Evergarden too in there. It's a Kyoani discussion on that day, so we'll have a lot of fun with it. But thank you so much. I really am happy, and I hope to continue this series, this channel, and my reactions as long as I can. So we'll see. But thank you guys so much for coming by here. I really appreciate talking with y'all, especially in the middle of the week. Like it's a Tuesday. So thank you for taking your time out to come talk with me about this. And this was a lot of fun. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back again real soon, y'all, with some more reactions. Have a good day, guys. Bye.